Hey guys, welcome in to the Petrolheads podcast. I'm your host, Jason Reynolds. This is episode 3. Dave, how you doing? How you feeling today?
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Excited. Today we're going to be previewing the 2024 Italian Grand Prix. And then we're going to touch on some news first. So coming in here, we got the just recent news that Logan Sargent got sacked. In the bin.
Knew it was coming. We just didn't know when.
Yeah, I felt like that those rumors were going to be true. So I think after they basically had a brand new car with all those upgrades and he threw it in the wall. Pretty bad too. It wasn't like, just a misfortunate thing, it's just an accident. It was just like, you're in the grass.
If
in free practice 3.
If you're gonna crash into the wall, destroy it.
Yeah, well, he did. That's for sure. It would look like a pretty rough hit too. But he will be replaced by Franco Colapinto. He's a Williams Academy driver that is currently in F2, sixth place in the points. So he'll be the first driver from Argentina to drive an F1 in 23 years.
You know, everybody at Williams right now is going, shit, we were a race late.
It's kind of like, I don't really get that one though. I don't really get that move because, like, why not bring in someone that has some experience? Like, there was rumors that like they had looked at maybe Liam Lawson, but then you're going to be kind of mix matching couples there.
Well, I think Red Bull wanted, if they called on him, he was going to come back. So then they'd be in the same predicament that they were in earlier. So
what do you mean?
So what I was hearing and reading was that if they got Liam Lawson in the car, part of the stipulation or the deal that Red Bull was saying is if we need him at any time during the season, he's coming right back. So
true. Yeah. Because
it wasn't going to be a full season loan.
Yeah. Okay. I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I don't really, to me, it almost feels like they know Carlos is probably like a 1 year and done. It's like, because why bring him in? What? Because it's a huge risk. The guy's never, he's from F2, so if you're bringing somebody in because if you replace Logan because Logan was crashing too much, you're taking a pretty big risk with Franco because he's never driven he's never driven in an F1, race.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You kind of put yourself in a position too, because like, what if he goes out there and lights it up, but you've potentially got Carlos and Alexander for the next couple of years, 2-3 years. I mean, I guess again, I think they know that they could lose Carlos or Alexander at any time because either one of those guys get a Formula A contract seat offered, they're going to take it immediately.
Well, Williams has a little security because they know that they have 2 drivers secured already next year. There's no debate whether should we keep Logan, all that's out the window. So they always knew it was just going to be a temporary fill.
Yeah.
And they couldn't afford to leave the car in Logan's hands.
No,
unfortunate for him, but
yeah, because they were already in a situation earlier in the year where one car couldn't race because they didn't even have another chassis. Yeah, Williams doesn't have that kind of money, so yeah, it's unfortunate. Feel bad for old Logie Bear, but he had an opportunity. It wasn't like this was his first season either. So
Let's see. I heard that he's going to stay in the Williams Academy, so they'll help him find a seat somewhere
Yeah, he'll
else.
go race somewhere for sure. Yeah,
Different
like,
division.
yeah, definitely. And he'll probably go and be really good because I'm sure he's got some pace. It's just
Yeah.
it's a F1's a different animal. Kyle Larson. But I read an article too, though, where Ralph Schumacher was like quite pissed that they're like, you got Mick sitting right there. But
well, that kind of nail in the coffin for Mick,
Yeah, that's tough because then it's like, well, where does he go now? It's.
I mean, if he hasn't been signed by anybody, leading into this season.
Do you think that there's any small chance that maybe Mercedes go, let's give Antonelli one more year and we'll let Mick fill in?
I think if they were going to make that call, they would have already done it,
Maybe. But what are they holding back for then?
Well, maybe they're just seeing how the season progresses for Kimi.
Yeah, maybe.
Seeing how his mental fortitude is going to hold up if he knows that he's going to have a seat later on or next season in Formula One. How's he going to drive now? Is he still going to be aggressive, more conservative?
Maybe a little bit too. They're trying to see where kind of closer towards the end of the year because I think, it's all going to be to play for in 2025. I mean, you can't necessarily say that Mercedes is not right there to have a possibility to potentially win one or both championships. I'm not sure that I don't know because you still got the rest of the season and then, off season to tighten the pack up a little bit. Right. I don't think anyone's going to be making any super big jumps with the current rules package that they have now.
Yeah, it's just gonna
tighten
up, get smaller and smaller,
and then they'll be focusing on 26 as soon as they can. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like that there's going to be a lot to play for, but they've got to make sure that they have somebody in there that can take that fight. And it's like, as well as Kimi going to be able to, I mean, in his first year, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in first practice.
Yeah, we're going to get a taste of it this weekend.
Out there and just smokes everybody by 7 seconds. Well, there he is. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there just isn't a future in there for Mick. It stinks, but I don't know.
Mick and Logan together somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
who really cares what Ralph thinks? I mean, come on.
Well, I just thought it was kind of funny that because
he's doing a good uncle part, but
I hadn't caught up to the new. I hadn't caught up to the new. I guess I didn't learn that Mick was even in the conversation until after they had signed Franco. So I thought it was just interesting because I saw the article where Ralph was like, he's like, they understand why you sacked Sargent, but then why bring in a rookie? When you have someone there that has some experience, and he's probably
they've seen his experience,
I don't know, because again, I don't think Haas is what I would call the greatest place to develop a driver. And it was really rough in his time there.
Yeah.
Right. And so he's got a couple of years now at Mercedes, which are really good at developing drivers. He's been being able to learn from Lewis and George. He probably could,
the problem
might be competitive.
The problem I see is, reserve drivers, say if they do a mid-season swap or from a junior team up to a senior team midway through the season, I think that, the driver's already going in on the back foot and not mentally prepared for that next step. Like say he has 2 full seasons in and for Mick's example, he's got 2 full seasons. After that, reevaluate where you're at. If you're good enough, then we can get you into a top team or a top mid team.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not, sorry, bud. And I think when they evaluated him after a couple of seasons, nobody really liked what they saw, or were not impressed.
Yeah.
So from Williams' perspective, you've got to give the people that are up and coming and that you really think are, true stars in that division time in the car. If you can get him race practice, boom, good.
Yeah, because he was even. I mean, he had links with Alpine, and they passed on him too.
So really, it's the best situation for Franco. If you come in mid-season, you're not prepared. You've got to switch from your F2 battle now to just surviving pretty much when you're out there now.
Yeah.
So it's a lot that's got to go on. So I think this is a good step for him if he's going to be their reserve driver next year. Then he's coming in with not a wealth of knowledge, but at least a good foundation.
Yeah.
That he can springboard that on maybe something else or.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge opportunity for him because it's a little bit of like, well, he doesn't have much to lose because it's not like he knows that he's not driving there next year.
Yeah,
that's an automatic, right? So he can kind of let
it's
me just
looser,
be solid, and just But Alexander made the point too. If there was any place he would want to have his first F1 start, it'd be Monza because it's a little forgiving, right? It's not the most technical, complex of tracks. So,
on the flip side, if he's horrible, it's going to shine through pretty fast, and everybody's going to be like, "Not signing him, dodge the bullet there." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everybody, just like in any other sport, every other team is watching him now to see, is he good enough to be a future star?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope he does good. I like the Williams team, James Vowles. I want to see him do well.
Yeah.
So hopefully it works out.
Mm-hmm.
Other news, sadly, no Bono to Ferrari. My heart is broken. No more hammer time.
No.
I was so upset, but happy for him. He got promoted to head of racing engineer. So he's essentially like the same role. He'll have the same role for Mercedes as GP has for Red Bull. But I'm assuming he'll probably still call races.
I'd say out of everybody in the Mercedes camp, he's probably the happiest. Lewis leaves, he gets a new position, doesn't have to leave home.
No,
I mean, a new challenge, so it'd be a good refresh for his career too.
And not to take anything away from him, because he's probably, he's one of, if not the best race engineer out, there.
Mm-hmm.
But there probably was a little bit of like, we're going to promote you to make sure you stay. Because I'm sure he was probably, I'm sure Lewis was whispering a little bit like, come on, it's Italy. Ferrari. Maybe he learned good in red.
Maybe he learned pretty quick that it wasn't in the card, so he's like,
yeah, maybe. But then because it's also too, it's Ferrari are pretty kind of stricklers with that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just gonna be so weird to hear Lewis Hamilton on the radio with an Italian race engineer. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But
I'm sure in the beginning it'll be, what did you just say? Can you repeat that?
Well, I mean, luckily he's spent enough time in Monaco. He can kind of get the lingo a little bit.
Let's see if he does what every other Ferrari driver does when they go there. They learn Italian, become fluent in Italian, and start speaking it. But I don't think he speaks any other languages. I think he's just knows probably a few words here and there. But
I remember they asked him about it because I think he speaks some, but he definitely doesn't with
Ferrari.
Italian.
Yeah, Ferrari's gonna be like, here's your Italian book. Get to reading.
Yeah, he's gonna have to be learning it for sure. He probably is already working on it. But yeah, he's getting there, and he's gonna have his his new best friend, Leclerc.
Yeah,
gonna teach him up real nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, but I'm so excited for 2025. Can't wait. But I'm excited for the rest of this year too. So on to the Italian Grand Prix. So to tell you a little bit about the track for anybody that's not super familiar with some of the technical aspects. So Monza is a very high speed circuit. It's you're spending 75 to 80% of the lap at full throttle. So that's probably the lowest downforce package and setup that any team's going to be running through it the whole year. And high speed is going to be top speed is going to be everything.
Every team has a Monza specific package.
Yeah, because it is a very. I heard the teams, some of the teams talk about it where it's not. There's not a lot to compare it to. Because I was even trying to do a little digging, like, okay, where can I look to see? Okay, it's kind of similar to this track, so we can kind of get an idea of where we think, the teams might be. But it's its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not super complex, but some interesting facts I learned researching from it is it was constructed in 1922 in only 110 days. It was the third purpose-built racetrack. This one, so the first was Brooklands in the UK. Never heard of that track. But what I thought was really cool was the second was Indianapolis. I didn't realize Indianapolis was that old.
And it was old, but not that old.
Yeah, that's wild. So that looks cool. Weather looks like it's
it's going to be 90 degrees all weekend.
Yeah.
90 Fahrenheit.
I mean, obviously it's Italy, so a shower could pop up if it, but it looks like it's going to be
sun's going to be shining.
Yeah.
New asphalt, couple redesigned turns,
new curbs too.
Yeah,
they have new curbs there.
And they say it's Pirelli's warning teams that the track's retaining a lot of heat.
Yeah.
So it's darker, but higher track temp means better grip.
Yeah.
But also more degradation.
Yeah.
So
I'll be curious how that is because that track doesn't typically have it's not super abrasive.
Maybe a 3-stopper.
I think they only did 1 stop there last year. But it's going to be a lot of track evolution too. That's going to be ramping up over the weekend. Yeah. 2023 was a pretty good race. I was looking at the highlights of it, and I remember that I got refreshed with everything because Carlos was on the pole. But they pretty quickly lost out to Max and Perez. They just the Red Bull was just the dominant car with crazy top speed at that point. And then that was the race where the Carlos and Leclerc were going. Had some hard racing there at the end, and it was close. It was really close. It's like, you guys need to calm down.
What do you think was going through Carlos's head when he got past? He's leading the race for, I think it was like 14 laps, and leading Ferrari at home in Monza. It's got to be every Ferrari driver's dream to win that race. But yeah, as soon as he goes by, you're like, shit.
Yeah.
And everybody's going.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to suck. I mean, because they are, that's such a huge, the Ferrari following there is. Somebody said it would be. I heard Matt Baker was talking about They're like, so will they cheer for Kimmy in FP1? Or are they going to go, Italian driver driving for a German team?
Mm-hmm.
Screw that guy.
Yeah.
Like they don't. They're pretty much whoever's in red. We don't care if he's Spanish, Mexican,
Mm-hmm.
British, whatever. Whoever's in red,
Yeah.
that's who they're going to pull for. So, yeah, I that was it was a pretty good race. That was, I think, when Perez was in a little bit better form. The Williams was pretty strong because Alex Albon finished P7, but that was when they had that that period of time last year when the Williams was like the fastest car in the straight line.
Mm-hmm.
It was just rapid. They should bring that car out for say, or just slip those car parts back on.
I bet you
for
it'll
this
be.
race.
I think they'll be quick this week.
We'll see. I don't think you really got to see their pace at Zandvoort during the race, especially with Alexander getting disqualified and Logan just completely shunting it. That wasn't the McLaren were decent there. They were it was like them and Mercedes were pretty level. That was when Lewis got a 5-second time penalty as well for his collision with Oscar.
Dirty ass driver.
I knew you were going to say that. You stupid. Yeah, it was. He was the chicane there, and Lewis. It's like I think Lewis locked up, and Oscar was like, "Well, I was going to turn in," and Lewis just was like, "I'm gonna lock up," so he just went straight on, and they clipped. But yeah, I mean when I was watching the highlights of those races, it was just full send everywhere. I mean, because that's like, you're right. You're just trying to slightly outbrake, because it's really the only way you're going to pass anyone is to outbrake them. And then you just see wild understeer, going into all the chicanes. So it was pretty chaotic. It's a pretty good race. So hopefully 2024 will replicate. Well, hopefully better. I'd like to see a little bit more battling. I think the cars are going to be a lot closer. So, but news is that Ferrari feel that it's going to suit their car a lot better, and then getting into the street circuits coming up, Baku, Singapore. So they're feeling pretty confident. As we noted before, Kimi Antonelli will be driving George's car in FP1. I really thought it would have been Lewis's. I would have thought, if you're, but then maybe
he's probably the senior driver. He's like, we'll just leave him.
Or it's because the conspiracy of George's got better car parts.
No, you know what they're really doing? Is saying, all right, Kimi, go show us how much better you are than Lewis.
No, show us how much better you are than George. That's what they want to see, because they know. They showed Lewis was talking about. They showed a picture from 2018 where Kimi was one of the kids on the grid, where how they have that pre-race.
Yeah,
he was like
the flag kids or something.
Yeah, like 12 years old. Lewis is like, it's so funny. It's like, man, I mean, if you're Lewis, you feel old.
I think you see that a couple of times with Fernando.
Yeah.
You see it with Michael Schumacher. With Vettel.
Yeah,
it's.
Yeah,
it is funny to.
I remember that you saw that on Top Gear. Because it was like, I don't know. Seb was like a little kid and got to meet Michael.
Yeah.
Because they talked about it. He's like, so what do you think? He's like, when you look at that picture and then you look at yourself now when you're lapping him, what do you think? Do you go by? I'm like, that would be strange if you were in Seb's position.
It's an awesome position. Racing your childhood hero, because not a lot of people are lucky enough to do that, but it's yeah, when you're going by him, it's like,
Yeah.
gotcha.
It's
Even though they're in the latter part of their careers, it's still,
yeah.
it's like,
Well, yeah. You know.
oh, I just slapped Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Lewis's uh, Lando has said that it's like that a little bit with Lewis, where he's just talked about, he's like, like, yeah, like he was the guy when I was watching it, and we were always pulling for him, and now I'm racing him.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's where I think Lando is maybe even got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder with Lewis a little bit too, where he's like, oh, I want to beat that. I especially want to beat him. And I think everyone gets that way a little bit with someone as successful as he is.
Really think about it, it's Lewis was the last McLaren or successful McLaren driver they've had, So now it's
up until I
mean, up until
car, because the car was
last season, this season. So
when it went into the hybrid era, it was bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Because you kind of forget who all they had. Like Fernando came back there, raced for a bit. You kind of
Magnussen was there.
Sainz was there.
Yeah,
Magnussen. So they were crap for a long time. They ain't now. They are crazy quick. I saw. So did you hear Lando's radio message after he won?
Just simply lovely.
Yeah, simply lovely, huh? And I was listening to another podcast, and they kind of like just brushed it off as if he was like, oh, did he mean to copy Max? And it was like, no. Oh yeah, he did. That was a shot.
Yeah, he's talking a little shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you hear? They asked Daniel about it.
Yeah, I did see that.
And Daniel was like, Max isn't going to take too kindly to that, if he hears it. That is. But I'm like, man, let's get this championship fight going. Some talking some shit.
Yeah.
That'll be really cool to see. Get them going.
Yeah, it is part of it. You're fighting each other on track, but then you also got to fight each other in the press. You just talk a little shit here, and maybe next race you unsettle them a little bit. Just from the mental aspect of it, and it's all part of it.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you gotta.
But Max is gonna probably just be the silent one, just be like, okay, and just try to go out there and get results, but
throw his bitch fit. So childish. Yeah. I'd be curious to see. It could get spicy between them two. But that's if Max even has the car to be able to fight him. Because right now he don't, and that's why you do have to. The championships fight is on more than you think, because you got a run of races here that didn't fit the RB20. Last year they weren't the best at like the street circuit, like Singapore and Baku, and then now you're going into those races again with a car that's already on the back foot. They could. Couple of races, him finishing 5th, 6th place, and then 1 DNF, but that's obviously with Lando capitalizing.
Yeah.
If they keep the pace that they have and no one really catches them, because Anthony Davis, he kind of shed some light on. So like we had talked about before, when we were recapping the season, where I'd noted that, it's like, I don't really remember seeing, like hearing all the time where these upgrades they're putting on, like they're taking them off. They're like have them on in practice and like, no, we have to take that back off because it doesn't work. And Anthony Davis was making the point where the previous specs of cars um, it was mainly it was just downforce. Whatever you could do to put more downforce on the car, and then the car would go faster. It was very simple.
Mm.
But with these cars, I think he said it was like 60% of the downforce comes from the floor. And so, but then, and so, because these cars are so finicky, they'll, a lot of times it's not necessarily a particular upgrade that's causing the issue. Like they'll make a cut. They'll be testing a few upgrades, like a couple of like a floor and then a wing, like a rear wing, and they're not seeing those two tested on the track together. And then they go and they put them on together, and it doesn't work with the rest of the car parts that are already on there,
mm-hmm.
and it throws the balance off. And that's what happens. Like, and these cars are so sensitive to balance, and it's so difficult to find downforce on them. And he thinks that they're getting close to potentially maxing out the amount of downforce that they can get out of these cars, which, and that's why, he's like 2025. I mean, if the other teams start catching, it's only going to get closer and closer
mm-hmm.
and closer. And then, and then obviously next season, then they're going to be caring about is 2026. They're going to be putting all their resources into 20, most teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think some teams are going to be still going for it for 2025 to see as an opportunity.
Well, I mean, they're already working on them now.
Yeah. But then at the same time too, it's like, is the higher in the championship outweigh more wind tunnel time for 2026? Well, you said that they're working on them now, but they're not. They can't.
I mean, they've got to get the engines right and everything like that.
Yeah, so the engines, but the actual spec of the car, they can't start until I can't remember the date, but they can't.
Well, an actual build though, but they can do computer models and everything like that.
They're limited on stuff they can't build any specs of those cars and put them in a wind tunnel right now. They don't allow them to.
But they can still do the computer models and
probably, yeah.
And then they're getting a good foundation for once the build season starts.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of it right now is engine. They're trying to figure out the engine because that's a drastic change that's coming to them. So yeah, it's going to be super excited for that. But so moving on to our 2024 Italian Grand Prix predictions. So I think we decided to try to make a little competition with this to make things a little more interesting. So we're going to do our top 3 from qualifying, and then the top 3, who's on the podium for the race. And then we'll get points for those. So first place for both, so pole and win, counts as 2 points, and the rest are 1 point. And then we're going to have our bold prediction. And I think the bold prediction's worth 3. I was kind of up in the air on that one, but I feel like
3 points.
Yeah, because I feel like the bold predictions are going to be tough to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's going to be good to have them worth a little bit more points, make it a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leading the way with 2 because
Nah.
I was waiting for you.
Italian starts over.
Yeah, no. What are you talking about? No. We had our predictions for last week, and I was the only one that got one right. So Lando Norris won. I called that. 2 points for me.
Let's practice round.
All right. So Dave, give us your top 3 for quali.
I've got Norris, Piastri, Verstappen.
Norris, Piastri, Verstappen. Okay. No love to your Ferraris this weekend? Don't have no hope.
They'll have better race pace.
I think the opposite. So I think Leclerc takes pole, followed by Norris, and then I think Max will squeak in there. And but he's not staying there because my podium. Because I think that the McLaren is still going to have better tire degradation and probably be able to follow better. DRS's effectiveness is probably a little better. And so he'll get around kind of like I'm kind of feeling like a Spa kind of vibe. You know, Leclerc puts it on the pole, but Norris is going to get him on pure race pace. So P1, I've got Norris, and I think Leclerc will survive in P2, and then Piastri will jump Max into P3. That's my podium.
For the podium, I'm going Piastri, Norris, Leclerc.
Wow, that is spicy.
Here's how I see it playing out.
Yeah, you need to explain yourself here.
Norris, no, even though I gave him the pole, I know he's going to fuck up the start. Oscar's going to squeak by. Then it's going to be McLaren 1-2, Red Bull. After the first pit stops, or coming up to the first pit stop, that's when Ferrari's going to start making ground on Max, pass him. Red Bull will start going backwards, won't be able to make up the time. I think we'll have 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris, then Red Bull. I don't think Perez is going to be. I think he'll be like 10th, 9th. I don't think he's going to be right behind Max or, within a position of Max. That's how I see it. Bold prediction, no Mercedes in the points.
Well, okay. So do you just want me to go ahead and write down 0 points for you right now?
And I'm gonna say right now.
Come on.
Both Williams in the points.
You are okay. All right, wait. So you got 2 bold predictions. Are you doing 2?
No, let's just go. Let's do one. Let's do one.
Yeah,
let's do
We're
one.
gonna back it up a little bit.
But,
now.
I'm sticking with no Mercedes in the points.
Okay, so no Mercs in the points. Wow, dude. Like, do you want me to just go ahead and just put you down for 0 points now?
Mercedes doesn't like the heat. They've got I think it's going to hurt them this week, and then they're just going to go.
All I'm going to say is Spa.
They're going backwards,
which I think, because Spa is like a really big top speed track. I mean, again, I don't have them on the podium.
Spa's going to be better on the tires with a new track, higher deg. They're going backwards.
See,
not in the top 10.
I was really hoping that you would bring some integrity to this and leave your biased opinions.
Oh, it's not biased. It's not biased. This is straight facts.
That's just your pure
facts.
Hatred, evil in your heart, jealousy.
Aston Martin's got
all those championships.
Aston Martin's already got bad juju. The pace car crashed today.
Oh, really?
So it's you can go ahead and count them out.
Yeah. My bold prediction is the Red Bull will be the 4th quickest car
in the race.
Yeah. I think you might see 7th at best for Max.
It's all right. He won't be fighting a Mercedes
because they're gonna be in front. I mean, I think that it's so hard to call. I really, because I thought about going the opposite way. I was leaning. I was like, Spa, kind of. Obviously the Spa has the middle, like sector 2 where it's all down for, all high speed corners, but like you saw, like they had a really good pace there. And I think they got pretty good straight line speed. They had there, but then,
They're just going to be nowhere.
I don't know.
Everybody's all going to be.
I don't know if they have any upgrades coming either. And the question will be, so they had upgrades at Spa that it was one way or the other. They had upgrades at Spa that I think they took off at Zandvoort, but it also might have been the other way around. I do know that they said George and Lewis had 2 different setups too. They went completely different with them too, and I think that Lewis probably had a bit more downforce, and it slowed him on the straights. But I think it made him have better race pace. Yeah, well, part of it, and then part of it him just being the GOAT. So, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's so tough to call, but I don't see anyone bringing. I don't think Red Bull really has any upgrades coming. And the McLaren put a bunch on for Zandvoort, so I don't think anyone's going to catch them in a week.
No,
but there's a lot at Monza. You can get away with there's not a whole lot of corners and technical areas where a car that's a lot more balanced is going to be able to create as much of a separation. I think it's going to be so much, like corner exit and straight line and, just a low downforce package. So I think Ferrari are going to take a big step.
Look at a podium.
They looked good in Zandvoort, and Leclerc looks back on form. But that's a tough prediction on for both of us, because they were 9/10 off in practice at Zandvoort, and then they had no idea where the pace came from in the race. They just were like,
I'd like to see them battle, the whole race. That'd be good.
The 2 Ferraris? Mm-hmm. Or I hope they all are battling the whole race.
But it would be nice to see a little replay of last year with them just constantly swapping positions.
Yeah, Sainz will probably be a little less forgiving this year.
Or cautious, yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, I could see him taking a little bit more risks.
They're going to be sliding everywhere.
But
be good.
But again, if that Mercedes is if the car is good, Lewis is really good there. So I think that they'll be right
Not this
there
year
in the mix. Yeah, I don't know. What Tommy? Yeah, Tommy from the P1 podcast. He has Lewis winning the race. Yeah.
Dummy.
What if we go in and it's just Red Bull domination?
It's possible.
Yeah, because I don't know. I thought about that too. It's like, well, because there's not some super technical areas of these tracks, of the track, like, is that gonna fit the Red Bull better? Because the Red Bull isn't gonna have the high speed corners where they're gonna be sliding around and stuff.
They're bringing that wing they trialed in Spa with the cutouts up in the rear beam wing or the DRS flap wing. So it's got cutouts, so they're bringing it back in Monza. So we'll see.
Because if you remember,
see if they can do anything with that.
Max was like he actually got pole, he obviously had the grid penalty,
Mm-hmm.
but it was about like half a second. So
We'll
we could
see.
just be walking. We might not see the Red Bull downfall until the week after. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But yeah, I think that's it for us. Any final thoughts?
Go Piastri, Norris, Leclerc.
In what order?
Go Williams. I hope Williams both getting the points. I'd like to see them kick.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, this is your weekend to get lucky. Alpine, they might be in the mix. I don't really see Haas or Aston Martin doing much.
Isn't Haas? I think Haas is pretty quick in a straight line this year too. So they may be up there.
Yeah.
I hope. I kind of want to see RB because I'd like to see Daniel have a good
I'm going
race.
to give the edge to Yuki.
They've kind of been back and forth, so we'll see. It's going to be tight. I think Daniel is driving for that Red Bull seat because I still think that there's a possibility. But then again, if Perez...
He's got to get his shit together.
Perez runs, if he has a strong race again and finishes out the year strong, he'll be there next year.
I think Perez has probably got his eyes on Mexico. He's like, that's where I need to come back. I need to win there, and that will, set a good precedent for the rest of the season going into next.
I'd say the street circuits for sure, like Baku, Singapore. He's probably got those circled on his map because I don't think the bad thing is I don't think he particularly runs very well in Mexico. He about took out.
He better hope he goes this year
last time. So, well. That'll be it for us. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Give us your feedback. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll get you guys next time. Have a fun Italian Grand Prix.
Our outro music should be bye.
Or it goes hammer time.
No, don't listen if it does that.
Bye, everybody.